screen share. And yeah, I'll let you introduce yourself. I could talk about GRIN for like an hour. We gave you a plug at the
I'll
top.
give you time at the end, Derek. I'll give you time at the end. You do all my plugs as well too, please.
Yeah, well, yeah, it certainly is an amazing tool, and we've seen the power of influencer marketing and influencing our customers to become more influencers. And we saw some of that in the reviews that we were just looking at across the two sites. But I think it's, we also want that on-channel exposure, which I'm sure you'll give us all of the best practices to help us have the pieces arranged so we can get the most out of our influencers during the Black Friday spikes in ad cost and traffic and all that stuff.
Yes, I'm excited to be sharing some tips on how we can leverage influencer marketing for BFCM promotions. There we go. It's a mouthful.
Yeah. All right. I'll let you take it away.
Excellent. Thank you. And well, Derek didn't introduce me. So let me start off by saying my name is Katya Allison, and I am the Director of Content at GRIN. I am really excited to be coming on here and just really talking about how to leverage influencer marketing for BFCM. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, I feel like that's what all of the talk is about. More specifically, the agenda that I will cover today, and hopefully I will pace myself in a way that makes the most sense. But what I will be covering today are really the basics, defining influencer marketing, going over the ideal workflow, and then showing you a hack on how to find the right influencers. Then it's all about BFCM and really all holidays or promotions, the planning timeline, then a little bit about storytelling, and then I'm going to finish it off with top 5 tips for BFCM influencer marketing strategy. Now, let's start with the debate of the century is, do we call it influencer versus creator versus ambassador? What is it? What are we going to say? So I will use these terms interchangeably, but this is what I'm talking about, semantics aside. When I'm talking about an influencer, creator, or ambassador, I'm talking about a person with the ability to influence their community to try, to buy, ask, or learn more about anything. And they do this by creating content that engages their community. What you as a brand call these groups is really open to your own brand and whatever catchy name you want to call them. At GRIN, we like to call them GRINfluencers because I like to use the word GRIN in as many things as humanly possible. All right, so let's set the foundation. The ideal workflow for really any program, any influencer marketing program, is to get up and running with continued success is that is repeatable, but also one that allows you to be able to grow as well too. What we have found at GRIN to be very successful across industries, across products, is this ideal workflow. It's really in big buckets that I'll break down for you. The first is to define and create your campaign. Now, what this means is you're answering the question of what are you trying to achieve? Set your goals, your objectives, your KPIs before starting anything. This is really what's going to help you identify which influencers you want to reach out to, but also how you measure success at the end of the campaign. And it'll also inform you really which influencers and creators you want to be able to use. That next step in the workflow is to identify and recruit influencers. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to leverage those goals and objectives from step 1 to help you find the right influencer. So, for example, if I have said that my objective and my goal is more brand awareness, oh my goodness, I am tongue-tied today. I apologize, folks. If my goal and objective is brand awareness, think about reaching out to more potential influencers with a lower follower count, like those micro influencers and nano influencers, or influencers with larger followings, but not as many. You're going to really ideally select the people that you can share your brand story with, or who will be able to share your brand story with just really compelling content. This is the stage where you're all about identifying who is going to be right for your objectives and then reaching out to them. That next step is launching your campaign. This is where the rubber meets the road. One of my favorite phrases. You are going to use your goals, your objectives, and those recruited influencers. It's game time. Put your campaign brief together. What goes into that campaign brief is timeline, content expectations, content rights, and products that you're going to be sending out to those influencers. And then send the influencers all of that information so that they can get started. Next, evaluate the campaign results. This happens obviously after the campaign is done. This is the reporting side of it. These are the questions or some of the questions you want to be able to answer after every single campaign, especially BFCM, any product launches, or any other holiday campaigns that you're trying to run, leveraging influencer marketing. You want to be able to answer what went well, what didn't go well, what can you do better next time, who is easy to work with. This one is going to be really key and a time saver for you. Who crushed it with content? Who gave me the most impressions? Who gave me the most revenue? Answer all of these questions, and then anything else that you can think of. Again, those would have been defined in that define and create campaign portion of this entire workflow. The final step of this ideal workflow is what we like to say, invest in the winners. After answering those questions, you're going to be able to identify anything that worked, anyone that worked, and what you should be able to, or what you should spend more time on. Now, who should be part of that BFCM campaign that you're running? Spoiler alert, it's everyone. Who is everyone, though? I don't literally mean everyone in the world, but when I do say everyone, I mean anyone that you've ever worked with in the past. Even if they aren't part of an existing campaign, maximize your reach by including everyone in your campaign. You get more eyes on your brand, you increase revenue potential, and then you have more content to repurpose. This is also, though, that being said, going on the assumption that who you have had on your roster is a good brand storyteller or has been for your program at one point or another. Now, the hack to finding the right influencers for your brand. All right, I'm going to lay this all out for you because one of the biggest challenges of influencer marketing is finding the right influencers or creators for your brand. I wanted to be able to share just kind of a quick hack before you dive into the meat, or before we dive into the meat of the BFCM tips. If you don't already have a roster, here is a framework for you to be able to use. But also, if you do have a roster, have you taken a look at this framework to see, are there things that I'm missing? Because the secret sauce here is to work smarter, not harder. Now, on the left, you will see employees, friends, and family. They are going to be your biggest supporters. There is a company called Tubby Todd. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them, but Tubby Todd built their brand on this tier of influencers and creators for the first few years of their business before they even started paying or going into paid social. So there's a lot. Your reach is a lot further than you think. Look at your employees, your friends, and your family. That next step are customers and people who came to you. So fish where the fish are, people. People who are already purchased or have a natural brand affinity is a great place to start for influencers and creators. They can share your brand story because they know what your brand story is. And the people who come to you have raised their hand and said, yes, pick me. I love this so much. I want to represent it. That next tier are the followers. Follow your followers or people who are talking about what you want to be talking about. This means check hashtags, check mentions, and not just your own, check your competitors too. That last tier is influencer search, which is ironic because I think that there are a lot of people who start with influencer search. So if you've gone through all three of the tiers, now you've got an influencer search engine that you want to ideally go through. And you have a couple of options when it comes to influencer search. You have opt-in networks, which are a marketplace. Now, an opt-in network is basically someone who has raised their hand because they have self-identified as a creator or an influencer. and they are ready to get paid. Sometimes there is a great time to use those if you need something really fast, but it's really limiting and it's more transactional than relationship. The other option for influencer search are open networks, right? So for an open network, someone doesn't have to sign in. They don't have to self-identify as an influencer. The world is your oyster. You have more options available with an open network than you do an opt-in network, and it allows for you to be able to establish long-term relationships and really build out true partnerships with creators. Okay, I know what you're waiting for, the BFCM timeline. Here's the timeline. Now, if you guys are taking a look at this, don't panic if you haven't done anything from June until today. If you haven't even started, that's okay. You can start today. You can even start tomorrow. What this basically is a framework that will work regardless of time. You can get started now. You just have your timeline condensed a little bit. So the first step that you should always work through when preparing for BFCM or the extended holidays is preparation and planning. During this stage, you're going to focus on setting the foundation of your influencer campaign, which means that you're going to figure out the promotion, you're going to figure out the product and the influencers and creators that you want to include. And then you have to start to outreach to lock down those influencers and creators. Now, I know that sometimes what happens with the promotions, especially for BFCM, you got to get like the executive buy-in. You know, you're waiting for like the green light, the thumbs up of like, this is what our promotion is going to be. You can start reaching out regardless. If you know that you're going to have a promotion, it's okay to reach out and see if people are excited about it, right? Or not people, but influencers and creators, if they are getting excited about it, if they do want to be part of it, you can do your outreach beforehand. The next step is to collaborate and execute. Now, during this stage of the timeline, it's all about starting the buzz. You are going to work on getting product to your influencers, having them post to create some brand awareness and really build interest on this big holiday push. So while it's easy to think BFCM, let's focus on like the week of BFCM, there's a lot of like buildup that you can do prior to that. Right now, ideally, is the time that you're doing that as well, too. The next is manage and maintain. This is the game time. You got to run those campaign promotions at this point. What you really want to be able to keep in mind here is that you just need to be available, and that's where your time is going to be spent. You need to be available for your influencers and your creators, but also be able to answer any DMs that you get on your organic channels as well, too. And the last step is evaluate and extend. This is what often gets missed because there is typically a campaign hangover, like, oh my goodness, it's done. Thank goodness. We think it's over, but there's still a little bit more to do. Now, this is where remarketing is the play after the holidays. Extend your campaigns, cross-sell, focus on customer retention. This is where remarketing lives for you. Now, next is the ideal content you want to get from your BFCM campaigns. And before we dive into specifically that, I want to tell you to think about storytellers. Now, why is storytelling so important? Ironically, Kurt had mentioned this before as well too, but storytelling is so important because it gives brands the opportunity to share their why. Why should I buy from you? Why should I care? And why now? A story is an easy and thoughtful way to simplify your information while connecting with someone emotionally. I bet you're wondering, why do emotions even matter, right? I'm just trying to sell something. Well, because when your customers are connected to you, they purchase. And if you nurture that relationship, they stay loyal. And let's be real, now more than ever, it's a buyer's market. As a consumer, you have the choice of where you want to be able to spend your money and where you want to spend your time. And especially through this next BFCM season campaign, you really need to be able to stand out. So let's talk about creator content. Creator content, more specifically, down the marketing funnel. I always like to think of everything down the funnel. So let's talk about the top of funnel with brand awareness. What kind of creator content are you going to want to ask your creators to start curating or putting together? What works really well here are just in-feed posts about your product, unboxing videos, branded hashtags, and even blogs if you have influencers and creators that also have that ability too. The next is the middle of the funnel. That's where you're going to nurture your audience, right? The kind of creator content that works really well for that middle of the funnel are the FAQs. Have your creators answer those top questions that you know people are going to ask. It's so much easier to hear it from the creator than to go to the website and look for those FAQs. How-to tutorials are really great here as well too. Also, live streams. Now we go to the bottom of the funnel, right? This is the conversion point where the rubber meets the road. Show them how to buy. The content that works really well here are product reviews. If you have moved them from the top to the middle and they are here, show them what other people think as well too. Product reviews, video testimonials, and even experiential videos where you collaborate with the creator or the influencer. Go live with the creator, have them unbox with you on there so you can answer the FAQs. This is a content-rich area that's really gonna help you have them cross over the finish line. And last but not least, I'm getting to the tips, my friends. Okay, so top 5 tips for planning your BFCM, or not for planning your BFCM, for leveraging influencer marketing for your BFCM campaigns. My apologies, it's almost the end of the week. I'm getting all tongue-tied. My first tip for you is plan ahead. If you couldn't plan ahead, now is the time better than ever. Start your outreach now to maximize your results. That means that you need to book your slot with those creators and influencers so that you can get on their calendars. Tip 2, create a FOMO experience. None of us like to miss out, right? Fear of missing out, FOMO. What does that actually mean when it comes to the campaign? It means make sure the discount or the campaign that you're pushing or the promotion you're pushing is really one that the influencers, creators, and ambassadors can get excited about, but also their community. So make sure that you don't have a promotion that conflicts with anything that you're offering on the website or the email. People will take the best offer out there. So create a FOMO experience. Make them buy now. The third one, which I mentioned this earlier, but it is a top tip, include all of your influencers in the campaign. Anybody that you have worked with in the past, open it back up to them. Because they are familiar with your brand, it'll be easier for them to create the content. And there's an added bonus for them to be able to also reap the rewards of like discount code commissions or affiliate link commissions. Tip number 4. Tip number 4 is start sending out product now. If you're delayed in planning, it's okay. If you have a roster, send your product now. A couple of things that we need to keep in mind and why this is such a top tip is because you want to be able to get product and your branded product in the hands of those creators so they start creating that buzz about the holiday promotion, about that BFCM promotion. But on top of that, you need to be able to allow for shipping delays, shipping times, and you also need to take into account for returns, right? Let's say there needs to be a return from your influencer. You want to be able to ensure that you have accounted for the logistics of what it takes to get the product from your warehouse to the influencer's hand. And the final one, the final tip is a meaty one. The final tip is create a communication plan. What that means is you need a communication plan between yourself or whoever is managing the campaign and your influencers and creators. I know there are a few brands that do this in multiple ways. They usually have one place or one way or one channel that they can communicate with their influencers. I have seen brands use a private Instagram account where they can just DM everyone at once or post something at once. I've seen Facebook groups work really well, but you can also just get down to the basics and do an email newsletter. So in this communication planning, what you're trying to lay the plan out is, all right, when am I going to talk to and connect with my influencers and creators? Send out an email or any messaging that you have, depending on your channel, at the beginning of November. The next thing that you're going to want to do is send weekly updates. Keep the buzz up. You've got to be their hype people. You want them to be excited. You want them to be excited about posting. Then the week of, you're going to create specific links for your partners, if you haven't already, for this promotion. And then you have to obviously send it out to them. The next is the day before, you want to send a message reminding everybody, right? Like, this is building up the excitement. And then the day of and ongoing until your campaign ends, you really need to be available to give them updates on their progress, answer any questions that they might have, but also answer any customer questions that do come in. And that is my top 5 tips for BFCM. Oh, I did not execute that well. This is my big old thank you.
You did great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you have a few tongue twisters in there.
I know. Oh my God. I practiced beforehand too, because I knew it. But man, it just gets you every time.
Oh yeah, of course. I am not without fault here myself. You did great explaining the process. I think you know, for me, you reduced some anxiety in the influencer marketer inside of me, because I do see a lot of brands go kind of not knowing the steps, or doing all the steps at once is actually what I think some people do. You know,
Yeah.
I'm finding them, I'm creating the campaign brief, I'm coordinating content with them, now I'm post promotion. And that hangover you talked about, by the way, yeah, both metaphysical and probably real, because people are drinking in hopefully celebration of a successful campaign launch. So I think all very applicable, and I can see people really crushing it if they follow this process, which I really appreciate. Really quick, give the plug on when people should incorporate GRIN. You talked about it a little bit throughout the presentation, because you have the discovery platform, you have the ability to kind of help in the process as well, both the open and the perhaps the closed format of it. When should we use you?
You should use GRIN if you are running any type of influencer marketing program and you have no intention of stopping. If you still need to test it out and make sure this is something that you want to invest on, it's probably better for you to figure that out first, get a good handful of them. But if you know that you want to invest in this and you're willing to put like a body behind it to really maximize those efforts, get GRIN. It's going to save you in the long run, and it's going to expedite what you can do from a time perspective, because really managing an influencer program, there's no better way to say it, but it is a time suck. There are things that are time consuming. They just are, right? Like I always say, I can drive really fast from here to LA. I'm in Sacramento, by the way. I could drive really fast, but I can't change the distance. And it's very much so like that. So because you know that it's going to take a specific amount of time, but you also want to maximize what you're doing, what we essentially want to do is be able to get you to drive at top speed. And that's what GRIN allows you to do. If not, you're always going to be in the slow lane and you're going to be missing out.
Or I could even say it's like going from car to plane, right? You're going to get there faster, but before buying the ticket, you need to know that that's something that you can do and something you want to go to, right? So, and I agree completely. If you haven't done an influencer campaign, start with a spreadsheet, do it the hard way. Make sure that it's working for you and that you're starting to get a feel for how you might want to work with your next influencers.
Yeah.
Then you implement this tool the same way that customer service actually works, right? Customer service, spreadsheets, email, then you implement Gorgeous on top of it once you've got enough kind of volume going through. And I like how you said putting a dedicated body to it. When I was in-house at a Beauty Box subscription, we had 3 influencer managers. I think they're a customer of yours, BoxyCharm, actually.
They are.
Yeah. Yeah, it really, you know, when you the more people you put, more resources, like as in hours,
Yeah.
you put on the project, the more important it is for it to have a tool that streamlines, tracks everything, and helps you understand the results as well, which is something that people kind of miss a lot. Uh,
Absolutely. You just have to know that this is the channel that you want to invest in. And honestly, influencer marketing is not a siloed channel. Everything that you do with influence marketing is going to essentially create that halo effect. So it's going to give you, you know, better brand awareness, whether you can directly correlate it back to one specific influencer. Your website traffic is going to go up, your cost per click on ads that you where you're repurposing influencer content, you know, your organic following is going to grow. So what you do with influencer marketing touches all parts of your entire marketing strategy.
yeah, absolutely. Couldn't
Yeah.
agree more. Casper says, fantastic. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks,
We,
Casper.
we've got people, yeah, change. I think we've got actual change happening in our strategies today, which is always great to see. Katya, thank you so much for
Thank
joining us
you.
today. We're going to move
All
right
right.
into our next session. See you later.